Okay, geometry students, the next lesson, the last section or lesson we're going to cover in this unit is 1.5, and it's describing pairs of angles. All right, so the learning targets, you're going to identify two words, complementary and supplementary, and you're also going to identify linear pairs and vertical angles. All right, so the first example here says, in the figure, name a pair of complementary angles, a pair of supplementary angles, and a pair of adjacent angles. Okay, complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So let's write that, add to 90 degrees. And supplementary angles are two angles that add to 180 degrees. All right, so let's look for a pair of complementary angles here. 53 plus 37 is going to be 90 degrees. So let's go ahead and measure and say that those are complementary. So complementary. All right, we're going to say the angle BAC. You could say CAB as well. We learned how to name angles, so BAC and angle RST or TSR, doesn't matter. All right, those are complementary. Okay, next, a pair of supplementary angles. So for supplementary, all right, we want, it looks like 127 and 53 adds to 180. So let's say angle CAD, or if you prefer, angle DAC. And then we have angle RST or TSR. Those add to 180 degrees. All right, we also want a pair of adjacent angles. So adjacent. Adjacent angles are just angles that share a common side. All right, so the common side here is ray AC, and these two angles, angle CAD, as well as angle BAC, are angles that are next to each other that share a common side. Okay, example 2 then, for part A, all right, we have angle 1 is the complement of angle 2, which means these two add to 90, and we have a 90 degree symbol here as well. All right, and this is the measure of angle 1 is 62, find the measure of angle 2. So we know that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 has to equal 90 degrees. All right, that is our angle addition postulate justification. If we substitute in the angle of 1 is 62, now we can just solve using algebra. So we're just going to subtract, that was substitution here for our justification. We're going to subtract 62, and we get the measure of angle 2, 28 degrees. All right, so for part B, something similar, we know that angle 3 is the supplement of angle 4. So these two angles are a linear pair, which means they add to 180 and they're next to each other. All right, angle 4 is 47. We want to find the measure of angle 3. So once again, the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 has to equal 180 by definition of a linear pair for our justification, which we'll do later. And then we're going to substitute into the angle 4 is 47 degrees. All right, and now we're just going to subtract, and that was substitution for our justification. Now we subtract 47, and we have the measure of angle 3 equals 133 degrees, and that was the subtraction property of equality. Okay, another example here. We've got a soccer ball return net, and it looks like, obviously it forms two angles here, where they've given us some algebraic expressions for those two angles, and we know that they're a linear pair, meaning that they add to 180 degrees. All right, it says find the measure of angle BCE. All right, so this larger angle here, and the measure of the smaller angle ECD. All right, so we're going to set up an algebraic equation. First, let's do the measure of angle BCE plus the measure of angle ECD have to add up to 180 degrees because those two angles form a linear pair. And then we're going to substitute. So this is 4x plus 8, and this is x plus 2. All right, substitution. And now we're going to add like terms, so simplify. That gives us 5x plus 10 equals 180. Subtract 10 from both sides. We have 5x equals 170. Divide both sides by 5. X equals 34 degrees. Now, underline that. It's important, but that is not our answer. The answer they wanted is the measure of angle BCE. So let's go ahead and plug that back in. BCE, if you plug in 34 right here, we're going to do the measure of angle BCE is equal to 4 times 34, and then we're going to add 8 to that. All right, 120 plus 16, 136 plus 8 is 144. And we're also going to find the measure of angle ECD, or DCE, same angle, ECD, is equal to x plus 2. And we know our x is 34. 34 plus 2 is 36. There's our answers down here. Okay, next example wants us to identify all linear pairs and all vertical angles. So let's focus on linear pairs first. Like we said, linear pairs have to equal 180 degrees, and they also have to be adjacent. All right, that is what it means to be a linear pair. Add to 180 and be adjacent. Okay, so take some notes there for linear pair. All right, so I'm looking at angles, let's say 4 and 5. All right, so linear pair. We get angle 4 and angle 5. All right. We also have angles 1 and 4. Those angles are next to each other and they add up to 180 degrees. All right. I'm not seeing another pair. That's all I'm seeing there for linear pair. All right. Vertical angles. We're going to abbreviate that VA quite a bit in this class. Vertical angles are angles that are across from one another in an X. So if you make an X, angles 1 and 2 here and angles 3 and 4 here are across from each other, so they're vertical. So in this case, angles 1 and 5 are vertical, and that is it. There's only one X being made by this straight line and this straight line. All right, you were tempted to do like 2 and 4, but there's no X there. This line's not straight. So 1 and 5 are the only vertical angles that I'm seeing in the picture. All right, then the last example is an algebra example or application of algebra. It says two angles form a linear pair. The measure of one angle is 5 times the measure of another. All right, so first of all, I like to draw a picture. Linear pair are two angles that are next to each other. They're adjacent, meaning they share a common side, and then they also add a straight line, 180 degrees. All right, it says the measure of one angle is 5 times the measure of the other. So if I call this one angle x, this one would be 5x. All right, we want to find the measure of each, so we're going to write an algebra equation. We're going to write 5x plus x has to equal 180. So that's 6x equals 180. Divide both sides by 6. And x equals 30 degrees. All right, that doesn't answer the question, so I'm just going to underline that. They wanted the measure of each angle. So make sure you go back and read the question before you submit an answer. So one of the angles is 30 degrees, but the other one is 150 degrees. All right, so our answers are 30 degrees and 150 degrees. All right, I hope this helps. I hope the homework goes well, and hope you guys have a